Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak, and I am ecstatic. I am elated today. I'm fired up. I'm EA Sports. I'm in the game. In the upper left corner, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cottrell.
Gentlemen, I'm sure I feel like there was a vote today that's really got you fired up. Am I right about that?
You're a fan of the lovely Browns. The Browns amongst the Titans and the Saints and some other teams are my favorite teams in the NFL. And even the Detroit Lions, Mr. Dan Campbell. Give that man some credit. We're not scared of no play. How you feeling tonight, Cottrell?
Hey, I can't complain, man. It's been a good week, so ready to get to the thick of it, though.
In the upper right corner, we got Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, Mr. Working Too Hard Shally. How you feeling tonight, Bill?
Tired but excited. I think we're gonna have a good show tonight, and I'm glad there's at least some grown ass men that still want to play football in the NFL, and they're not too chicken shit to try to stop a QB sneak. So
I found it very humorous. I don't know if you found it very humorous, Cottrell. I need you to play along. I know you know the answers. It's a very easy question. Do you know the count of the voting for and against?
Of course.
What was that number?
22-10.
And who was the team that brought the bill to the table?
Green Bay Packers.
And what was the score of the wild card playoff game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers?
22-10.
You know, you can't write this stuff. You can't write it. Jeffrey Lurie deserves a statue because an owner stated, and this is obviously speculative, I'm not inside the building, but apparently an owner stated that Jason Kelce retired from the NFL because of the tush push. He retired early because of the wear and tear that it was putting on his body, and an owner stated that. And I thought that was very interesting. And Jeffrey Lurie came in with the kill shot of bringing Mr. Jason Kelce to the panel to speak. He said, if I could come back and run the tush push 80 straight times, I would. That's what I would do if I was guaranteed that's all it was, and that's all I was doing. It's not a harm on me. And he talked to the guys, and Jeffrey Lurie gave a passionate speech. And I don't know what two owners they flipped. I guarantee you they thought they had the numbers. All reports said they thought they had the numbers. I don't know what two owners they flipped, but two owners flipped. And that would be interesting to me to find out who those two owners are. Your thoughts on the proceedings, Shally? I want to go to you first. Your thoughts on what happened. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing was, I was holding out hope this was the outcome we were going to get. But again, if you listen to everybody that was kind of close to it, or I feel like this was almost like a Senate bill, and you had a bunch of reporters in the rooms counting votes, and where they heard people were going to vote which way, and it looked like it was going to get banned today. Then for it to come out that they were too short, it was very interesting. I would, as you said, I would love to know who was the last minute flip flops to go back, to keep it active, and was there discussions between him and maybe Jeffrey Lurie and some things promised, or maybe some gifts exchanged or whatever it was, but. It will be, I'm sure that will be a story of folklore to come out in the next couple of years about what happened at the last hour to get teams to flip back and allow it to say is illegal play. I think certain teams, you can cross off right from the get-go. Like you said, like Detroit, I think Detroit was probably a no from the get-go.
The Saints were definitely always a no. Kellen Moore is not going to vote against the play that's got him a job.
No, for sure.
So it'll be, I mean, that leaves, I think, Miami, New England, and
Tennessee.
the way Vrabel talked today, I think New England was a no from the get-go. So it'll be, between Miami, Tennessee, and a couple other teams. It'll be really, really curious to find out who decide to change their mind at the last minute.
I'll be interested to hear that also. Cottrell, I know that you've been very vocal about wanting to get the play banned. You've not wanted the play to consistently stay in the NFL. How do you feel about your Browns voting for the play?
I mean, it doesn't surprise me because they run it often themselves, especially when, they ran it with Flacco. They ran it with Jameis Winston. They ran it with Jacoby Brissett. Like when Jacoby Brissett was still here, They were bringing Jacoby Brissett in literally off the bench. Just, hey, go in there, run the tush push, and, come out the game. And Kevin Stefanski's run other plays off of it, whether it be like HB toss or, a running back pass after it, things like that. So I'm really not surprised that they voted to keep it because, they run it a ton. So I'm not really surprised there. Ultimately, I don't necessarily hate the tush push itself there, but I do think aspects of it needs to change. Like, I'm a big proponent of bring back your traditional QB sneak. Like that, I've been saying that from the jump there. It doesn't pass. Oh, well, that's not the reason why the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Like, it's not, to me, it's not a game changing, or, a shift of power balance or anything like that. So it didn't pass. I wanted it to go. No big deal for me one way or another. It is what it is.
It's going to pass eventually, probably next year or the year following. I don't think this is one of those things. I don't think this is one of those things that's going to stay not passed. I think that'll eventually get passed, but that's kind of where I'm at. But it's okay. I got another year of it, and I'm happy about it. And I was fully prepared to do this show and be ready to rock and roll. But I do think the Philadelphia Eagles social media team is a petty group of people. The pick was posted, push on, and it was the Eagles against the Green Bay Packers. I don't know. It's a very petty group. That's all I want to say. Any final thoughts on the tush push not being banned?
I mean, I think that's where Petty lives. Petty lives in situations like this.
Yeah.
Like he did the same thing with Scotty, after he won last week with the whole, there's something along the lines of like guilty or something. I mean, that's what those social media people live for. So I love it.
Same. Obviously, we love it. Friends say Philadelphia. But there's more news on Hotwire. Hotwire's got a lot to go around this week. And obviously, we're going to talk about one thing that happened Friday. But in order to get there, I want to backtrack the steps. I want to say this just like I said this morning. I think Ryan Clark is one of the best listens to on the Pivot, on ESPN. I respect him. I love him. I love the way he goes about things. I respect his nature. He got into it with Robert Griffin III. And if you said RC got into it with RG3, my loyalty would say I'm on RC's side. But after reading everything and going back and forth, I can't be on RC's side. And I want to be. And I think that he started it off great. I think he started off well. I think that he got very, if I'm being completely honest, I think he got very personal during his segment. And he went way too far to me. So if you don't know what we're talking about, Robert Griffin III went on, his own segment, his own podcast or whatever. And he had stated, and with his white wife in the background, I'm saying this for context. I don't think it matters, but with his white wife in the background, he went on a podcast and said, it's very clear that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. And this is not, I know sports. He's like, I've seen the look in her face and I know she hates her. I don't know if I agree with that statement. I don't think they're the biggest fans, but I'll get into that in a second. Ryan Clark went on to say the one thing we know about RG3 is he's not having conversations at his home about black women, what black women have to endure in this country, about what young black women and athletes like Angel Reese have to deal with on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's rise and ascension in the stardom. If you're RG3, when was the last time within your household you've had a conversation about what Angel Reese is dealing with? You haven't been able to do that because in both your marriages, you've been married to white women. That's where it goes too far. RG3 is corny, right? Ryan Clark goes on to say he's corny. He made a lot of jokes about milk when he was at ESPN. He was a terrible teammate at Washington and ESPN. I don't discourage any of that. I think most of those things you could say. But when you bring his wife into it and say that he doesn't know what it's like to have conversations, I don't know. I think RG3 has a black mother. He has daughters that are black that are growing up in this world. I think he's every bit as qualified to talk about what Angel Reese is talking about and what he's not talking about. I love RC. Went too far, in my opinion. Cottrell, I want to go to you first on this one. Your thoughts on the engagement, the entanglement, the conversation that happened between the two of them.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd say for the most part, I do agree with you. I think everything that RC said was things that he believed is like bona fide fact, and like I have no issue with his entire message outside of him bringing in his wife. And so I think when you bring in the wife, and he didn't even say anything disrespectful or anything like that. Like he essentially said, like, I've met her. She's more than what, RG3 portrays her as on social media. Like, always flaunting her around, just calling her milk, like things like that. He didn't disrespect her in any way. So like, I feel like RC, he's great at trying to eloquently display like his words and things like that. So I think he was trying to keep it as respectful as possible, but I think he could have made the exact same point without bringing his wife into it. Now, you can say everything, literally everything, to the point of, not having those conversations at home because of your marriages. Like if you literally just snip that part out of it, I think everything he said was fair. But I also don't think that, I've been seeing a lot of things on social media about like, oh, like, you can't have like a white wife and have these conversations and things like that. To me, I don't think that that's where we're at here, because with Ryan Clark, like people dug up that, no, I shouldn't say dug up, but a lot of people didn't realize that his oldest kid is biracial. So like, RC's been there. It's like, I don't think it's necessarily the relationship that you have there. In reality, I think it's more so of RG3 and Ryan Clark specifically in this situation. They have that history. It is personal with them. Like RC said, like, hey, I had your back at ESPN and all this stuff. And essentially now you've kind of just, thrown me to the wolves there. And you had somebody on your podcast that I don't like, and you had a conversation with them about me and things like that. So like, I think for RC, a lot of it was just built up frustration, and really there was already a vendetta there. And so this just gave him an opportunity to air out everything and talk about like, hey, I don't like you essentially as a man, and I don't like how you move about certain things. And now this gives me the opportunity to say, hey, you're not even qualified to even have this conversation. So again, from RC's standpoint,
he is qualified to have the conversation. Sorry. You don't think Robert Griffin III is qualified to have the conversation?
I think he's qualified to have the conversation of, I think talking Angel and Caitlin, perfectly qualified there. Just saying that I can see it in her eyes that like she hates her. Like, I don't think that should have ever been a discussion.
I want to play a game real quick.
Okay.
I want to play a game. Bill, does Angel Reese hate Caitlin Clark? Yes or no? That's all I want to hear. All I want to hear.
I don't know, but I think you could make. I don't know how Angel Reese feels, but I mean,
It's fair. You kind of spoke to Control's point here. You kind of
No.
ruined my lead.
No, but here's what I'll say. I mean, you have to look at how this facade that they're really good friends, I think, needs to stop.
They're not
I don't
friends.
think they. I don't think friends.
No, I get it, but a lot of people have chimed in on this, being like, "Oh, well, like you don't know how they are." Like, listen, I don't think they're buddy. I think they're going to be teammates when they have to be. Obviously, with the next cycle of USA basketball and stuff like that. But they're like, listen, these are two young women that are going to be linked together for their entire career, and I don't. Again, I think hate is a strong word. I don't think Angel Reese sits at home and has a voodoo doll of Caitlin Clark, and wants bad things to happen to her. I also don't think Caitlin Clark's getting invited to a birthday party or anything else either. I think it's on the court. I think there's a certain level of jealousy, which is kind of well documented at this point, and I think that all factors in. So, do I think it's hate? No. Again, I don't think Angel Reese is wishing harm on Caitlin Clark, but I don't think she likes her either. I think we need to get rid of that narrative too.
I just think that if someone watches those two play basketball and watches their interactions and watches what Angel Reese likes and reposts on Instagram, they can come to the conclusion that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark and be qualified to say that. I'm not saying that she hates her, but it's close. She definitely doesn't like her. I'll go back to Alyssa Thomas clotheslining Angel Reese last year and the way Angel Reese reacted to that.
Alyssa Thomas is a vet.
Okay. So because Caitlin Clark took a hard take foul, Angel Reese, you know what that showed me, Cottrell? That she'll get up in the face of someone smaller than her, but she will not get up in the face of someone bigger than her.
So you're comparing a foul from a vet, from Alyssa Thomas, who last year was, probably top 10 in MVP votes. Yeah. So a vet in the league, her rookie year, early on at that, that was within the first 15 games of the season. You're comparing that to her second year getting fouled into somebody that came in the same class as you. And again, it's the second year there. So I don't think the situations are apples to apples there. But, I think you can say, to your point, that she wants to get in the face of somebody that's smaller than her. Hey, that may be the case. But again, I don't think it necessarily has anything to do specifically with Caitlin. Of course, it was Caitlin here that we're dealing with. But at the same time, I think my issue with it, and I'm going to go into a little bit more of it too, because I saw Portnoy's comments, and I actually he opened my eyes to a whole different perspective. But I think,
can I put Mo's comment and then go right into it? Mo wrote a very eloquent comment. I just want to post it. He didn't disrespect directly by calling RG3 out. He's highlighting he's been married to two white women. Is very personal and disrespectful. Brothers aren't a monolith. Corny brothers are still brothers who have black mothers, sisters, and daughters. Unless Ryan Clark has RG3's house bugged, he doesn't know what type of conversations they're having. Mo, let me just tell you, I appreciate the comment. Thank you for the well thought out statement. Now, Cottrell, I'd love to hear your point.
No, I was going to say that with these two, I ultimately just think, at the same time, this is basketball. You're not necessarily supposed to like who you're going up against. We talk about an NBA, people don't like that the NBA players are so friendly with each other and that they have these kinds of relationships and things like that. They miss how the old competitive nature used to be around the NBA. I think in the WNBA, that's okay too. It's okay if you're not buddy with your opposition. I also think that it is just basketball. They were all-star teammates this past year, and they were perfectly fine. You saw videos of them in shoot around and warm-ups and stuff, and they were laughing. And Caitlin threw Angel a couple passes in the game and things like that. So I also think that a lot of this is kind of getting blown out of proportion because of the people who are trying to force the narratives. And I also think, now I was going to bring up the point about Dave Portnoy. He brought up a great point that I never even took into account. He said, as a Caitlin Clark fan, I do hate Angel Reese, not because of, necessarily, her race or because of what she's doing on the court, things like that. he was saying that Angel Reese at this point, it's kind of a built-up rivalry between Caitlyn and Angel dating back to college. And so, as a Caitlyn Clark fan, he sees the foul that she took on Caitlyn last year. Like he sees, what she said in the media and things like that. And it's just built up this hate for her. Like you would hate somebody on the Celtics. Not saying you hate Jason Tatum, but using that as an example, like, oh, this guy is a Boston Celtic. I don't like how he acts. Like, I think he's corny, blah, blah, blah. If there was a Sixers fan that said, hey, I hate Jason Tatum, I'm not looking at him sideways like, oh, like you just must be this racist guy, or you must, hate anything specific. Like you can just hate them from a sports standpoint. And so Portnoy saying that, like, it definitely made me view that a little bit differently. I do think as a whole, we view women's sports differently because of that. And at the end of the day, it's a competitive game, and they have competitive nature just like every other sport that we talk about.
I don't disagree with your statement about Portnoy. I also, looking at the foul, it was made out to be way more than what it was. But the fact that it was made out to be way more than what it was is actually a good thing. I'm sorry to the WNBA bouncers that stand at the door and they don't want to let anybody in. It's great to get the media attention. Good publicity, bad publicity is still publicity for a league that desperately needs it. I love it. I'm not saying that I agree with how Angel handled herself afterwards. I'm also not saying I don't think it was a flagrant foul. I think it was close. It was borderline. I don't know if it was. I was fine with how it was called either way. Looked like a take foul to me, but the little left arm that kind of gave the little extra shove was a little extra sauce on it. It's you could see it. I follow that. But with all that being said, it's definitely good that the league is being talked about on national shows constantly. Last night was a great game. Great game. Indiana lost by 1 to Atlanta.
That's a whole nother conversation, I feel like.
Dwana Bonner played awful. I don't know what happened to her last night.
Well, I wasn't even going to just get to that, but the Fever can't get in that spot and Caitlin Clark not touch the ball at the end of the game. Like, I get it. Natasha Howard is a great player, but Caitlin Clark has to have the ball in her hands, whether it's setting somebody else up or taking the last shot. You can't get away with Natasha Howard getting a post fadeaway, getting it blocked, getting it back, and then going right back up with it to end the game, especially how Caitlin ultimately brought them back in the fourth. I mean, it was a 10-point game, and, Caitlin took over in that fourth there and, really got them rolling. So, but yeah, topic for another day.
The conversation was the league is good. It's getting good. Paige Beckers had a great second game, 19-8-6. Love seeing that out of her. You're going to see more and more of this. I will say this, and I'll kind of end my point here, and I want to hear Shally's thoughts. But, Cottrell, I want to apologize to you. Not sure if you caught the morning show, but this is apology number 2 today to you. When they both came into the league, I said, what's a comparative to the NBA? And you said Bird and Magic. I laughed at you. I scolded you. I'm like, there's no way it's Bird and Magic. One is just way more talented than the other. And and I remember I listened to it, and you came back with, like, it's not necessarily, I'm not saying Angel's as talented as Caitlin, but like the impact. And I didn't feel it until right now, until a day ago, until 2 days ago, because you're right. It's the impact of Bird and Magic. Magic was showtime. Magic was publicity. Magic was not social media, but like in front of the cameras. Yeah. Bird was trash talk on the court, but he wasn't in front of the cameras every day. He was the hick from French Lick. That's what they were. They were cultural icons in different manners. And the nation picked which one they wanted or liked. And look, NBA comparison skill-wise, it's Steph Curry and Joakim Noah. Like, that's the comparable. But NBA comparison, it's not, you laugh, it's not funny. That's
I agree with you. I agree with you. A lot of people don't want to admit that, but I agree with you.
Hey, I upgraded from Drummond to Noah. I was Drummond at first, but she's got a better, Brett Gardapi said she's got a way better passing game than Drummond does. So I'm like, okay, that's Joakim Noah. It's perfect. But the impact of Bird and Magic, you are correct, sir. Because that's what it is. Now, all we need to see is Michael, Jeffrey, Jordan, Juju, Watkins to walk into the WNBA and be that rise. Callie.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting with Juju. Juju's going to need an Isaiah Thomas, though. And that's like, that's just another example. Like you talk about it, like to this day, those guys don't like each other. Like there is no love lost between Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan. And we're talking, 30 years,
40 years, yeah,
40 years down the road here. So, to really just kind of wrap this up, I mean, listen, they're the most two polarizing people in the league, and they came in at the same time. They're bringing a rivalry that stems all the way back to college. And yeah, I mean, it's going to continue to grow and hopefully Indiana is obviously already on the fast track of getting a lot better. And hopefully, Chicago could figure it out and build around Angel to where, we get these matchups in the conference finals, once, Asia and Stewie and that whole group kind of phase out. And it's, that's what the WNBA needs to continue to grow. I agree with the publicity on the fact of the hardcore people are going to eat it all up. But I will say this, I think, and I only say this because I saw it a lot on Twitter already. People are getting tired of the race aspect of this. And it's a lot of it is what you guys both already said. Let the two women play. Let them play basketball. Let the rivalry go where it goes. And if they end up not liking each other, that's fine. It's just, I think you're going to start seeing a lot of fatigue about everything Angel Reese does is because she hates Caitlin Clark because she's white, or everything Caitlin Clark does is against Angel Reese because she's black. People are getting tired of that. And I don't know.
Fans though, Bill. It's not necessarily the players anymore. I think everybody understands that the players in the league, and like Caitlin's made it very clear, like she's come out and I think she's played her hand pretty well as far as support goes. But it's more of the fans. And
I agree.
I wasn't in Indiana. And I'm still like searching and combing through and trying to find like what was said or what led to the release for the WNBA and Indiana Fever. And if they're talking about the noise that was made at the free throw line, was it the laugh from the TikTok streamer, or were they really trying to make a derogatory like sound? I don't know. And I don't want to claim to know that, but I will say this. There's been plenty of vicious, racist, scumbag comments on the internet at Angel Reese that need to stop. And that's the part that takes the true WNBA fans, and they see that, and they just want to throw the Caitlin Clark fans out because they loved their product before they got there. Now, they're going to cut off their nose to spite their face because the Caitlin Clark fans are what's going to bring in the revenue of which they're going to need is like essentially like Portnoy being at those games and putting that much of a bet on Caitlin Clark to hit a triple-double and being courtside, that matters for the league. And whether or not he's polarizing or jerk off sometimes is one way or the other. I think he's hilarious, but it's the fans that have that issue. Charlie, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And I agree with you. I wasn't saying like it wasn't like a lot of stuff I was seeing from reporters or anything like that. To your point, it's a lot of fans that are both ways, kind of, just disgusted with it in general, because every time something happens between the two of them, that ends up being the default argument to where we go. And that's what people are getting tired of. Yeah. Like Caitlin Clark didn't flagrant foul Angel Reese because she's black. And to your point, there's too many people that are like, oh, like Caitlin Clark got away with it because Angel Reese, like it just, that part of it just has to stop. But to circle back to the original thing, I talked to Cottrell. I actually texted Cottrell kind of right when this was going on because I wanted to pick his brain about it. Because I felt a certain way, and then I really wanted to hear what he had to say. Because Gene, I'm very like almost identically on the same plane as you. I'm a huge Ryan Clark fan. I've met Ryan Clark once, very briefly. Like I'm not saying I know him, but I think what he's done with the pivot has been incredible. I mean, for me, for a sports podcast, I think it's the best one that's out there between what they talk about, between sports, real life. He gets the top of the top of, either current or ex-athletes on there. I think it's a phenomenal podcast, show, whatever you want to call it. I don't have strong feelings about RG3 one way or the other. I didn't mind him on ESPN, but in regards to the whole conversation, not to get sidetracked, I don't think RG3 is disqualified from talking about it. And if that's his opinion, and like we just said, like with Bird and Magic, I don't think anybody really ever became Batman and Robin there, or Batman and whoever. Like there was never like, nobody really became the villain there, I guess you could say. And I think that's one of the parts that he kind of went wrong, and automatically kind of claiming Caitlin Clark was going to be Batman and Angel Reese is going to be the villain. Even though it might play out that way, I think to automatically assume or assign that type of thing, obviously going, Batman to Caitlin Clark being white and then Angel Reese being the villain, I think that threw a lot of people off. But I think Cottrell's point was really big too. I think Ryan Clark lost a lot of objectivity here and kind of let a lot of personal gripes that he had kind of get, convoluted into his argument, which on the basis I don't think was wrong. I think it's a little hypocritical, to the point with RG3's white wife and obviously Ryan Clark having, a child with a white woman. Because at that point, I think you're saying then obviously it's impossible that Ryan Clark's daughter is having these same conversations. And I don't think that to be true either. I think it just goes back to the old adage. You don't tell people, how to spend their money. You don't tell people how to raise their kids. I don't think there's anything anywhere, like Mo said earlier, to state that RG3's kids aren't really nice young kids coming up and they're not cultured because they have a white mother. Like that's a big stretch for me. That's a lot for me. Because then I think he could have easily said the same thing about Ryan Clark. Like I said, obviously having a biracial, daughter with his first wife. So I think it got personal real quick because I think it blew up real quick. And again, and that is the lightning rod that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are. And they started talking about it. They are the hottest topics, on Twitter at any given time when something happens. So they both went viral instantly. And they both have huge followings on their own. So I wish they both could have kept it kind of above board and, left it at their opinions and again, kind of left certain aspects out of it. I think when Ryan Clark went into the family mode type thing, he kind of lost it for me. And I think he went a little overboard. And I really wish at some point they both would have stopped and just picked up the phone and been like, okay, let's not do it this way. Obviously
the episode to pivot, that wasn't happening. Like I think Ryan Clark, I don't even think that was in his soliloquy. I think he started talking, like Charles, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he started talking and just like the venom started spewing. He started getting a little bit more fired up.
It did.
I mean, that's what it seemed like for sure.
It's just it's unfortunate because again, now you're taking somewhat of a rational sports point, and Ryan Clark could have disagreed with it. But again, now we're not really even talking about that. Like we're talking about the other parts of the conversation. Exactly. Like you shouldn't be bringing people's wives in. We're talking about biracial kids. We're talking about race. Like and I've said it before, and like we've said it on the show. They have one shot at this to get it right. Like that you've been blessed with however you want to, whatever you want to label her, whatever, they have the ability to take this league to heights that none of them ever thought were going to happen. And if we just keep doing this, the casuals are going to get turned off. Like Gene said, it'll go back to all the hardcore people that have been there from the get-go, and everybody else will just be like, whatever. Like they already have a brand new TV deal next year. Like they have the opportunity of a lifetime here to get this right and let it grow. Pages look great. I would hope people like Asia should get more publicity than she does. But you're looking at all these young women coming in. Cameron Brink gets a lot of publicity. We know Juju's coming in another year, and you're going to have this great kind of explosion of really turning the page and starting over with a completely different generation of players in the WNBA. And they're all better on social media. They're all more marketable. But there's, like Gene said, there's going to be the money and the viewership and everything behind it now to back it up and really make these women global superstars like they should be. They got to stop getting in their own way. Gene said it perfectly. They're going to bite off their nose to spite their face, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
Okay. Well, want to move forward. We've kind of tackled a lot of this, and there is another hot wire topic that we need to get into before we get into the NBA. And this week, I can't help but laugh. I'm happy for Brock Purdy. Let me just be very happy for Brock Purdy. $53 million per year for the last pick in the NFL draft. That is historical. And I'm happy for him. And I told you he would not play this year without a new deal. There's no way that was happening. I think the 49ers have really put themselves behind the 8 ball with a lot of their contracts on. So Brock Purdy gets paid. What's your thoughts, gentlemen?
For me, I think it's easy. I think the San Francisco 49ers have effectively slammed shut their Super Bowl window. Because I know the cap's always going up and things like that, but effectively when you pay a quarterback $50+ million who's not a top 10 guy in the league, that's never going to be a recipe to get this thing right. And the 49ers, to their credit, they do a good job of acquiring talent and things like that, but that really puts you behind the 8 ball. Hell, we've seen some teams that have already paid quarterbacks that are better than Brock Purdy. Not saying, apples to apple situations there, but we've seen them not be able to get it done. So you're paying a guy like Brock Purdy that is, they're like, I'd say at best, 12 to 16 range, whatever way you look at it there. I just don't know how that's a good move for you. Just like how we said, once Dallas paid Dak Prescott, that slammed shut their window. To me, I look at it as the exact same thing.
Charlie, your thoughts on the? First of all, I agree with you, but Charlie, your thoughts on the Brock Purdy contract?
I think it's devastating. I think it's bad. It's and agree. I compare it to the Dallas one, and you even look at the Patrick Mahomes situation, and not that they will ever have their window slammed shut because they have Patrick Mahomes. But again, you watch the Super Bowl last year against the Eagles, that team had glaring issues at certain positions because they don't have the money to pay for all of them. And that's the situation you're going to run into. Like Cottrell said, salary cap's going to keep going up because the NFL is never going to stop making money. But it's not going to go up enough every year to pay premier players to play on your offensive line, to rack, to stack up your defense with studs, and then still have people at the skill position levels. Kansas City gets away with it because Patrick Mahomes, you can put scarecrows at the wide receiver position, he'll make it work. And he still is Travis Kelce. And they have a lot of, to Cottrell's point, they've done a really good job of drafting and acquiring young talent, controllable at a small number on the defensive side. But you're seeing it with Dallas already. They're already behind the 8 ball with Dak. They had to pay CeeDee Lamb, and they already lost a couple guys last year, and they still got to find a way to pay Michael Parsons, which is going to be extremely entertaining to see what happens at the end of this year. It's just not – if you're going to pay a guy that much money, he's got to be the guy. And I'm not saying Brock Purdy is not a nice NFL quarterback. He is. He's not elite. like I said, if you get away with that, if you're paying that to Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes, the guy that is that much of a difference maker on the offensive side, that you can let certain other positions go because he's just going to overcome it. Brock Purdy's not that guy. He's been blessed with having a phenomenal team around him, with playing it on a team that has an elite defensive unit. And I mean, his first couple of years, he's playing with Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle, and then on the defensive side has a defense that had 4 or 5 All-Pros on it. Again, he's good. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, Bosa. They just paid Fred Warner collectively. Fred Warner is still probably the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL, and they're paying him pennies on the dollar compared to what they're paying Brock Purdy. And
there's a lot of people. Christian McCaffrey's getting paid. Ayuk's getting paid. He just got a contract over there. They still have the dead money for Javon Hargrave this year and next year. They got a lot. George Kittle. There's a lot of people getting paid in that organization, and it leaves you very little room for depth. You cannot. And by the way, I'm sorry. Like, I've seen it in the chat like 12 times. Got to announce it. Just happened. Just announced maybe 5 minutes ago. The owner of the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Irsay, has passed away. It was posted by the Indianapolis Colts. Adam Schefter's posted it. So Jim Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, had passed away. Had to make mention of it on the show. We'll get back to sports. We don't have any of the details of it, but he passed away in his sleep this afternoon, is what John Suggs is saying. I don't know anything more than that. So I see it in the chat. I know it's news. We're going to continue moving on talking about sports. Do you have any comments on that?
I was just going to say, it's obviously, it's wild that he passed away there, but I would say hours after meeting, because I'm sure he was at the meeting and voting on the tush push and all those things, and then this news coming out afterwards is wild.
Yeah, I won't give my thoughts because
be careful.
Yeah, it's not gonna give my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, listen, whatever you think of the guy, somebody passing away is somebody passing away, and it's still, they still have a family and everything else. I would say I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing for the organization. I think with no, listen. It's, if you look at the way it's been, the things that have happened there the last couple of years, I think they need, a different voice. I don't think they wanted him to
change. I get it.
I don't think they wanted him to die for it to happen. But
it's just the way you said it. Someone dies, they die. But it's probably a good thing for the organization.
Probably is. I think there's a lot of frustrated Colts fans out there with really, I think, frustrated with the way that team's been run the last couple of years, and he kind of started mingling in it a lot. But again, I'm not happy the guy passed away. I don't think anybody's happy that's the way it's going to happen. But it's
I can't. Let's move.
It's where we are.
It's where we are.
Yeah. Listen, I'll tell you right now. I get myself in a lot of trouble if I say what I want to say. So I'll not get into that vote.
He's a very, very polarizing person.
Yeah.
To say the least.
We'll go there. Let's move on to the NBA, as we have a game that happened last night, Oklahoma City Thunder, and oh, Jesus Christ, Tom Gallo. I can't. I can't stop. All right. So,
man took a stand.
Last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Minnesota Timberwolves by 26 points in a game that looked like the Oklahoma City Thunder was a little flat from their Game 7. Starting off the game, Julius Randle was on fire. Guy couldn't miss from 3. He was on another planet. And then by halftime, it was a 2-point game. And you're like, how do we get here?
You know it's coming.
J-Dub turned into J-Dub last night. We've been talking about J-Dub being the number 2 player on this Thunder team all year. And he hasn't looked like it in the NBA playoffs, but last night he did. 5
He did in Game
steals.
7.
What?
I said he did in Game 7.
Game 7 also. 5 steals last night. The Thunder are the best defensive team in basketball, and they showed it last night. I think their starting lineup as a whole had something like 11 steals. I think it was 12 steals in their starting lineup. Defensively, they played great. They contested shots. They won the game inside the perimeter. They hit a bunch of 2-point shots. They only took 21 threes. So you can win basketball games not shooting a bunch of threes. The Thunder won last night. I had Thunder in 5 before the series. I still have Thunder in 5 after last night. Nothing about last night has changed my opinion. What were your thoughts on last night's game, Thunder Timberwolves? I think it's going down. I'm yelling Timber. Look, I'll say this and I'll end it right here. The Timberwolves getting here is fool's gold. They didn't earn this spot. They played an old, decrepit Lakers team with no inside presence, and they played the Warriors without Steph Curry. I don't want to hear it. They shouldn't be here. Take your participation trophy and get the hell out. OKC in 5.
I'll go quick here. I pretty much agree with everything Gene just said. I think, the first half, and then, I actually got to rewatch a little bit of the second half. But to Gene's point, I think once OKC kind of woke up and found their stride, you kind of really saw a microcosm of what this series is going to be. And OKC is just a better basketball team. I think Minnesota maybe steals one at home with the home crowd. Anthony Edwards maybe has some wild, crazy game, and they win one. But I have OKC in 5 as well. This is kind of the downfall of what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks on the show, that you lost Steph Curry. You were losing a really good team one way or the other between OKC and Denver. And a lot of the, and then what happened between the injuries with Cleveland and Boston. Just a lot of the wind went out of the sails of what's going on here at the end. But I have OKC in 5 as well. I just think they're way too good. They're way too deep. Like I said, I think Anthony Edwards has some heroic, crazy game at home, and maybe they steal game 3 or game 4. But I think that's about as far as it goes.
So for me, I like the Thunder to win the series as well. I like Thunder in 6, but I actually think that game showed me, and I know it was a tale of two halves there, but for me, I think it showed me that the Timberwolves can match up well with that Thunder team. Now, obviously, in the second half, we saw the Thunder really go on their run and things like that, but a big part of it was the Timberwolves missing open threes. Like John Suggs said in the comments, like they were 15 of 51, but a lot of threes they took, in my opinion, were open. I think Wendy said they were around they had 40 plus threes that were considered open. They only hit 15 of them. Like, obviously, Naz Reid didn't have a great game shooting the ball. Dante DiVincenzo didn't have a great game shooting the ball either. But I think, you can get production out of players like that. Like, we've seen them have lights out games throughout this postseason. I don't think it's going to be enough to propel them to win the series here, but I do think it's going to be enough to get them 2 games in this series. And, you can talk about J-Dub. Obviously, we could talk about Shea. He just got crowned MVP today. We can talk about the performance he had. But to me, I think the catalyst of that Oklahoma City Thunder team is Alex Caruso. Not because of, what he does on the offensive end, not even just what he does defensively, but just the effort and you can tell he is so bought into the game plan. Watching him navigate through screens when he's guarding Anthony Edwards, like I was watching a video earlier today, and Alex Caruso is really like almost unscreenable. Like if you put Caruso on Anthony Edwards while he's in the game, Ant's going to have to work for every single bucket that he gets. And honestly, I think because of that pressure that he was getting, not just from Caruso, but the other guys as well, that's why you saw Ant take so many perimeter jump shots. He only had 1 layup or dunk attempt that entire game. All of his other shots came from outside of the paint there. And I think a big part of that is because the Thunder were making him work. And, he was uncomfortable and he was settling for those outside shots.
I agree with you, Alex Caruso. I agree with you, Anthony Edwards didn't completely show up. I hated the Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle post-game presser where they're talking about how many free throws that SGA took. SGA is a free throw merchant. It's what he is. That's not a diss on him. He is very good at showing contact. He's very good at drawing contact. That's just what he is. There's going to be times where he's not going to be getting those calls, and that's fine. I think that Oklahoma City is deeper. I think they're better. I think if you argued who the best player in the series was, it's SGA over Ant. But if you want to argue Ant over SGA, that's fine. I think 5 out of the next 7 best players in the series are Oklahoma City Thunder. So their depth is there. They're just, I think they're very well coached. I think this Minnesota team is just lucky to be there. I really believe that. Mo said OKC is playing matchup zone, and the T-Wolves have to move the ball versus dribbling the air out of the ball. I agree.
Yeah, they've been dribbling the hell out of the ball. Mike Conley, Julius Randle, those guys get the ball on the perimeter, and they're just trying to go back and forth with it. So that's a great point, Mo.
And the last point I'll make is this: never in the history of never should Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Naz Reid, and Dante DiVincenzo combined for 28 3-point attempts in a game. Shouldn't happen. They were 5 for 28 off the bench. If you're shooting 5 for 28 off the bench, you're relying too much on your bench. Sorry.
I mean, I think part of it, though, is, we don't want to talk about it, but Anthony Edwards only took 13 shots. I know we love Ant, but let's give him the criticism when it's due. And I'm not saying it as like a just Eugene or you, Bill. I'm just saying, like, as a whole, like, we love Ant. Ant's one of my top 5 probably favorite players in the league right now, but he's been having these spells where there's just some nights where he doesn't show up. We saw it in previous series where it may be the whole first half where he doesn't show up and he turns on the second half. We've also seen some games where he didn't show up for the entire game, and this was one of them. I know he rolled his ankle early, but after he came back, he was moving fine. Just kind of seemed, I don't want to say disinterested, but he didn't seem like the kind of superstar that tried to go get the ball and make a play. So that's got to come with that responsibility. You want to be the face of the league. You got to. I'd much rather you go 5 of 27 or 5 for 25 than you go 5 for 13. And we're talking about the role players shooting 28 threes and only making 5 of them.
The scripts can't write themselves any better. Anthony Edwards was the lowest plus minus on his team, minus 23. The highest plus minus for the game, Shea Gildress Alexander, plus 22. They don't write themselves any better. They don't. We got a game tonight. We have a game tonight. We got Knicks Pacers. We got the rivalry continues. These teams have met up multiple times in the playoffs. Last year, 7-game series, which Jalen Brunson's hand or finger got hurt in game 7. This year, is it different? Is Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns different? I think it's going to be another great series. I really believe it. The Pacers are playing with incredible pace. They're moving the ball up and down the court. Halliburton on the break has been great. And in clutch time, the only guy I trust as much or close to as much as Jalen Brunson right now is Tyrese Halliburton. Andrew Nembhard or Steph Curry, I don't know, you name it. His playoff 3-point shooting percentage is incredible. It's like the greatest I've ever seen in my life. He's shooting like 50% career from 3 in 30 games. It's insane. You got Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner. I think that's the matchup. Miles Turner versus Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns has to win the matchup of him versus Miles Turner. If that's played even, I like the Pacers' chances in this series. I don't think it will be. I got Knicks in 7. I think it's going to be a great series. What say you, gentlemen?
Bill, you want to go first here?
I'll go. I think this is a lot like Minnesota. I mean, I think both these teams are playing better than Minnesota is, but I think they're both, kind of fortunate to be here. I think Indiana, as well as they played, they got lucky in some aspect in playing a Cleveland team that was really banged up. And then obviously New York, in hindsight, they lose Jason Tatum and then find out that that Brown was pretty a lot more hurt than people had known and were letting on as well. But that being said, I think the matchup of these two teams makes this a really fun series.
Before you say that, I got to stop you from what you just said. I'll debate it with you if you want.
Okay.
I do not think either one of these teams are fortunate to be where they're at. You want to talk about the Jason Tatum injury? They were down 3-1. That series was over. Don't want to hear it. They blew 2 20-point leads at home with Jason Tatum, and the Boston Celtics pissed away that series. I got to give New York Knicks all the credit in the world. And then to go with Cleveland versus Indiana, yes, Cleveland was the better basketball team all year. But Indiana took it to Cleveland, and Cleveland had every opportunity to get back in that series. And most notably, in Game 4, when Cleveland had the opportunity to tie the series at 2, and they had all their guys back, they got absolutely bombarded. I want to give these teams the credit they deserve. I hear you, but I don't want to say that these two teams lucked into where they're at. They outplayed the 1 and 2 seeds.
I didn't say lucked. I said fortunate.
Okay.
New York was down. New York was down 20 twice. Pulled off 2 crazy comebacks that you just don't see very often.
Still pulled them off though.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm saying again, and it's. I think the Cleveland one to me is even more glaring because you could say they had all their guys back. Those guys were still not 100%. Donovan Mitchell finished the series hurt. I think if Cleveland is in the shape that they're in all year long, I think Cleveland beats Indiana. But again, that being said, I think this is going to be a really good series. I think it's going to be an entertaining series. I think it goes 7 as well. I think it's a good matchup. I also think it's going to be kind of a battle of styles, like Gene alluded to. I think Indiana wants to get up and down the court. Knicks don't necessarily want to do that all game long. But if they can and they can stay in it, then I think it favors New York. The big guy battle, I think, is a huge key to this series, like Gene already mentioned, between Miles Turner and Cat. So I ultimately like the Knicks at home. New York is already buzzing, and all the New York Knicks fans have come out of the woodwork already. It's amazing how many New York Knicks posts I've seen on Facebook and Twitter from people I damn near didn't even know they watch basketball, and they're all Knicks fans all of a sudden. It is it's going to be interesting, but Madison Square Garden is a special place to play this time of year. So I like the Knicks in 7 as well. But I think it's a very hard fought, very dramatic series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Cottrell, I know you've been itching.
Yeah. I mean, I'm agreeing with you guys, and I think this is going to be a very entertaining series. But I think it's going to be a very entertaining short series. I like the Knicks, and I like the Knicks in 5. I just think, as a whole, they are the better basketball team. I think they match up well with this Pacers team. When you can have the mix and match that you do with that Knicks, then their wing players with Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG, like all those guys can switch pretty much all those positions. And you saw against the Cavs, the Pacers took a lot of advantages of that. The 1-5 pick and roll or 2-5 pick and roll, things like that. Like those matchups were really where they were able to take advantage. I think against that Knicks team, I don't think that that's going to be the case there. And the other thing is that, you talk about Nembhard shooting lights out and things like that. I think the Knicks do a really good job on the perimeter. And so I don't think Indiana is going to be getting a lot of just uncontested threes and, really able to play that way. So I think the Knicks are going to slow this game down a ton. Like as much pace as the Pacers play with, I think the Knicks play like an old down, just dirty team. They go late into the shot clock all the time. And I think if you're having games where it's, 95 to 91, things like that, that's going to favor the Knicks a ton. So I like their matchups. I think they're the better team. And so for me, ultimately, I'm rolling with Knicks in 5. But I think it's going to be a very competitive series.
You're absolutely correct. The Knicks absolutely want to slow this series down. The Knicks play the least amount of players, like bench minutes. The Pacers play the most amount of bench minutes. The Pacers play a full bench lineup, which it's unheard of. It's unheard of in the playoffs.
Only other team that does it is OKC.
If the pace of play is high and you see these teams running up and down the court, the longer the series goes, the more you have to favor Indiana, because that means that their bodies are fresher. Those guys are getting in and out of the game. Whereas the Knicks are playing 44, 45, 46 minutes a night. They're going nuts. They're playing all these minutes. So I get it. I hear you. I think there's going to be some games where the Pacers' pace is there. They get out to a lead and the Knicks have to speed it up to catch up. I think there's going to be other games where the Knicks slow it down. I think ultimately I trust the players on the Knicks more. And the matchup that means most to me is, can OG slow down Pascal, ex-teammates, and can Karl Anthony Towns win the battle decisively over Miles Turner? Those matchups are the ones that matter to me. They matter. But it's 8 o'clock. It's trivia time. We'll get back to basketball. We got some MLB, but we got a trivia question to go tonight. It is Gene versus Shally, and all the people around the world are ready.
I got a banger for you guys today.
A banger.
Banger.
All right. And I want you guys to hear me and hear me clear. So I don't want any mistaken anything here. We are going with across all 4 major sports.
Okay.
In the city of Philadelphia only.
Oh, I love this.
All-time Philly All-Star appearances. Now, when I say Philly All-Star appearances, I mean the amount of times they've made the All-Star game or Pro Bowl or, whatever for their respective sports in the 4 major ones, the most in the Philly uniform. So, for example, Paul George has been an All-Star plenty of times. He has not made an All-Star game in Philadelphia. He is not on this list.
Okay.
So, Philly greats. You're getting the All-Stars, all-time Philly All-Stars across all four major sports in the city. We have 11 here, 1st to 6. We're not doing tiebreakers or anything like that. I don't care who goes first. 1st to 6, we're getting it done.
I will take my first as I'm leading. And I'll take a guy that probably went to an All-Star game every single year. And that would be Michael Jack Schmidt.
He is tied for number 1 with 12 All-Star appearances.
I'll go with Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson is number 5 with 8 All-Star appearances.
That's a good one. I think that I'm really, really going back and forth here. I don't want to screw up early because I feel like that when you mess up early, you're kind of stuck. Darren Dalton, I felt like made the All-Star team every single year as a Philly. He was one of my favorite players. He's a catcher, which means he had a shortened career, but I'm going with Dutch. I think he's got 8. I think that gets him on the list.
Who'd you say?
Darren Dalton.
That is strike 1. He is
See,
not.
I hate screwing up this early.
I will
Let's go, Bill.
I will go with Brian Dawkins.
Brian Dawkins is tied for, so you have, for what it's worth, you have 5 people tied here. And Brian Dawkins is one of those 5 with 7.
Okay. Man, am I gonna get ran on this one? I'm so stuck on a lot of these. Bobby Clark.
Bobby Clark is not on this list.
What am I missing?
I will go with Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley is not on this list, but I will say, for whatever I remember seeing Charles, he's one of the first ones off with 6. I don't have everybody who has 6, but I remember seeing Charles Barkley had 6.
See, I know there's a lot of great Philly players. I'm lost on Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce is a correct guess. He has 7 Pro Bowl appearances with the Eagles.
So 2-2. But he holds hammer. I'm lost. There's a million of them.
Which is why I didn't think you guys would be struggling to get guesses out.
I'm not struggling. It's just there's so many of them. I don't know how Dutch isn't on the list. He's all-star every year.
I'll go with Steve Carlton.
Steve Carlton is another guy that has 7 all-star appearances. He's on the list.
It's a great one.
So seven's the minimum. 7's the number.
7 is the cutoff.
Let me go back to I love this question. It's such a good question. Who would be a notable all-star every single year? Dr. J, Julius Erving.
Julius Erving is number 3 with 11 all-star appearances.
So 3-3, but he holds hammer.
That is correct.
I get it.
I'll go with Moses Malone.
Didn't play her long enough. No way.
Moses Malone is not on the list here.
Yeah, didn't play her long enough. Let me go. I feel like he's not on there. Seven's the number.
7 is the number.
I know. I'm thinking
7's a big number, man.
Oh, I don't know how late it goes, how all-star games were in hockey. I know that one guy's. How old is the oldest player?
I don't you got an old one here. Let's see.
Just the oldest player. That's all I want to know.
I got you. Well, the oldest one would have been 93 this year.
Okay, so there's players in the older. So can I go with Concrete Charlie? Chuck Bednarik.
Chuck Bednarik is here. He is another guy. He's tied with Allen Iverson for 8 appearances.
Concrete Charlie makes sense. There's probably another old one too. That's a legend, but I don't want to give it away yet.
There's gotta be somebody from hockey on there.
That's exactly where my head's at. You're barking up the tree I'm about to pick.
I think I know who it is because for all the years that we were really bad, I think he's the only one that went. I'm gonna go with Giroux.
That's not who I'm doing.
He's not on this list.
Give me Bernie Perrant.
Also not on this list.
That's where I was going. I was going old school goalie.
Can I? Oh, I'll wait till.
He still holds hammer. We're tied, right? Or am I up one?
3-3, I think.
I
1,
think it's
2,
4-3.
3, 4. 1, 2. Gene, you are up 4-3.
I thought you hold hammer though. You go second, so you have the. I don't have that. So you tie it here. So you hold hammer.
After you go here, I'm gonna give you guys a baby hint.
Okay.
I don't think he made it enough. Flyers one is just stomping me. I don't think Eric played long enough and he was hurt. I will go. Go Troy Vincent.
Troy Vincent is not on the list, but the hint that I wanted to give you guys, and I'm just double checking here just to make all the way sure here. All right, so do you want to know like teams, like per team, how many are left?
That would be helpful.
Okay, so you have 2 76ers.
Okay.
You have 2 Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, and that's it. Two Sixers, 2 Eagles.
We can stay away from the Flyers and stay away from the Phillies. So it's
Correct.
Sixers and Eagles. Okay, so if it's Sixers, Eagles, old Sixer, you know what? Screw it. He had to make it a bunch in Philadelphia. Give me Wilt. Every year he's in Philadelphia, he had to be an all-star.
Wilt Chamberlain is not on this list.
When did the freaking all-star game start? How many years did he play in Philadelphia?
They might have had the All-Star game back then.
That's what scares me.
I don't think he's there. You might be like one off. I'll go with Lane Johnson, though.
Lane Johnson is not on this list. I believe he's also another one that had 6.
You said 2 Eagles, 2 76ers.
Oh,
you know what? I'm going with it. Number 5 will always love you. Give me Donovan McNabb.
Donovan McNabb is not on this list.
Gosh darn it. Gosh darn it.
I don't think he was here long enough either, but I'll go with Reggie.
Reggie who?
White.
Reggie White is on the list with 7.
Philly?
He's got 7 of them.
Ties it up.
Must have been like 7 for 7 then.
It had to be. That's insane.
Yeah, I think he was outside of his rookie year. Next 7 years, he's a Pro Bowler in all of them.
Is the next Eagle really old, or is he like gettable?
Very gettable.
Okay. Is it Big Fletch?
Fletcher Cox is not the Eagle.
Okay. Very gettable, though.
Very gettable, in my opinion.
Okay.
Is it Westbrook?
Westbrook is not the guy. Oh, and I also have. I'll wait till you guys. I'll wait till you guys are done. I'll wait till you guys are done here.
Okay. So it's 4-4 right now.
Correct.
Who is Maurice Cheeks?
Not Mo Cheeks.
That's a good one. How the hell do I forget Mo Cheeks? Fucking cat's name.
After this guess, I can give you guys years if you'd like.
Basketball one's just wild. Like I can't. Like nobody else even sticks out that would make that many All-Star games. The Eagles one, it has to be a lineman. I guess Lane already, right?
Yep.
I'll go with Jason Peters.
Jason Peters is correct.
That's
Number
a great one.
7.
It's a great one.
Probably only should have made like 4 of them. Gee, was just stealing money.
I'm doing the math, and I think one of them the other 76er has to be Joel Hans Embiid.
It's not Joel Embiid.
What's that?
I was doing the math, and I just felt like he had 7.
So how many are left? 3, 2?
There are two left.
And they're both Sixers?
Yes. So yeah, I mean you want me to give you guys hints?
Yeah.
Well, no, you gotta wait till I go.
No, it's fine. He's up. You're up 1 or are we tied? 5 for him.
It is. There's 2 Sixers left. It's 5 for him. Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Get in. I'm all right with it.
All right. So the first guy here is really I guess fake Sixer, but they count him with everybody else here because it was 1950 to 1963.
Oh, you're cheating. I know exactly who it is. I know who the player is, and he didn't do it with the Philadelphia 76ers.
But he's counted as a Sixer here.
I know who the player is. That's fine. I know who that is.
And then the other player.
I know the one player, so you better get it, Chow, because I know the one player.
The other player was 58 to 73 with the Sixers.
Oh, okay. So I think I don't know. I think the one guy I thought of is that guy, but we'll see. I give you a hint, Bill. I don't care if I win. The one guy's best friends with you. He works with you.
He played that long ago?
Yes.
Oh, it's Billy
That's
Cunningham,
one of them.
then.
I'm almost sure of it.
Oh, it's Billy Cunningham then.
Is that it?
Nope.
I didn't think so. I don't think he's that long ago.
Well, Hal Greer is the other one.
Hal Greer is one of them. That is correct. Yes.
It's Hal Greer and Billy Cunningham. They're the 2 old Sixers that should be on this list.
I didn't think Billy was that good.
Billy was very good.
He's very good. I'm just telling 8 All-Star appearances is good though.
You know what college you went to?
This guy who I'm.
No. It's Billy Cunningham.
Oh no.
Shally does. Come on, Shally. Your sister knows.
He's a North Carolina guy, isn't he?
He's a Tar Heel. That's correct. I don't know the other Sixer. So we're tied until Shally gets it.
Okay.
They're the only 2 old Sixers I knew.
All right. Now we're gonna have to sudden depth this thing because I feel like you guys aren't gonna get it.
I am not getting the other Sixer.
I'm not gonna get it.
All right. Let's see.
Who was it?
Dolph Shays.
I wouldn't have got that.
I've never heard that name in my life.
I've heard the name before. I just didn't know he was a Sixer that long.
Yeah. So, they credited with everything being Sixer, so threw it in there. But how about this? How about we end the show? I'm gonna come up with something good here. Yeah, on the fly. Well, we're gonna end the show with sudden death, and we're gonna go from there.
I'm down with it. We'll go back to. Let me see how the chat did. John Suggs put, "You can't be talking about Dolph." Frank Cole, that's a good one. Concrete Charlie was said first or second.
I did want to.
Reggie White.
Is Fletcher on the list? He's got to be like 5 or 6.
I don't remember exactly, but I had it like everything was categorized like in
I get
like
it.
Basketball Reference or Football Reference, like all that stuff. So I'm pretty sure he was probably up. There were a lot of guys that had 6 there, so yeah, that was that.
Leclerc's a good one too. I didn't think about him.
I mean, if Lindros didn't get it, I mean, Leclerc wasn't going to.
I get it.
But yeah. So now I'll pick up something good here for you guys to right before we finish the show.
Yeah, he was on Syracuse Nationals is the team that I thought Hal Greer was on too. And Billy.
Correct.
Connolly.
Yeah. No, correct. Yeah. I was saying that
that's not Philadelphia.
Put them with the Sixers.
I get it. That's not Philadelphia. They're the Nats. But all right. Would you look at that? 27-22 in the first quarter, Indiana. That's not good for the New York Knicks pace of play. With 4 minutes left in the first quarter.
Oh, I thought you said. I was like, if that's over, that's not terrible.
No,
4 minutes left, and yeah,
that's terrible pace of play for the New York Knicks. But we'll see.
They're notorious slow starters, so maybe all right.
True.
But Shally, I kind of want to. We're all good on our picks for the NBA. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got Knicks in 7, Thunder in 5. Where are you at, Chow?
Yeah, it was Knicks in 7 and Thunder in 5.
Okay. And then Cottrell?
I had Knicks in 5,
Thunder in 6, Knicks in 5.
Yep.
Okay. I remember because I compete with you a lot. Silently. What I do want to do is I kind of want to head to first of all, before we head to baseball. I know it wasn't a topic on here, but in the first time in the history of Wire to Wire, never been done before, picking a golf event, my 2 picks finished 1 and 2. I did the Exactica. Think of my roses, bro. I need to get my roses. Now, granted, the second one was kind of a sneak in there. He really probably shouldn't have finished second. The guy bogeyed the last hole to go from 7 under to 6 under, and then Bryson tied for second at 6 under. But it's still a second place finish.
It's like 30 people that got tied for second.
Hey, listen. If I bet it, he finished second, and he finished second, right?
Second.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler, who was my pick, won it all.
Bet he did.
So I just
really
want to. The name P-Gene-A is coming back. So it's back.
Good news is the show's 2 for 2. So
Fact.
See, we got the U.S. Open in a couple weeks.
I heard somebody talking recently about the Ryder Cup teams and like what their rankings are right now. Like, granted, there's still a lot of time, but they would be very, very different than we're used to based off the rankings.
Yeah, because it's going to make Keegan Bradley's life a living hell, because what's going to happen is not that he's going to get stuck, but there's 2 or 3 guys that are going to automatically qualify that if they were in the selection pool, they probably don't get picked, which means he's going to have to get his 6 picks right. And the way he's playing, he might qualify. So that will be interesting. I'm assuming he would probably disqualify himself, but I don't know. So it's that watching that down the stretch the next 2 months is going to be wild. But yeah, I mean, U.S. Open, I think it's Father's Day weekend in June. Oakmont out in Pittsburgh, right outside Pittsburgh, and the Trobe, top 10 course in the world. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But congrats to Gene on getting both of his picks.
P-Gene-A.
I really think if Bryson DeChambeau would pull back just a little bit sometimes, I think he could win 10 majors.
Oh, yeah. If he doesn't always try to go for the hero shot.
He's just determined to do it his way.
Yeah.
And if he would eliminate 2 or 3 of those shots around, I think he could win 10 majors.
2 or 3 of those where it's just like no doubt about it, you're double bogey in the hole because you screwed up so bad.
Yep. He just puts himself he puts so much stress on his game to get up and down, where if he would just just go a little bit less full bore and hit the ball 330 in the fairway instead of trying to hit it 360 in the green and end up in the rough, which we know in the majors is going to be 4 or 5 inches long, and then give himself some impossible chip to stop on a green that is rolling like concrete, and then make some 10-foot putt for par, and then a bogeying where he probably easily would have had either a shot at birdie or a stressless par. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I hope somebody eventually just gets in his ear and is like, just listen, just dial it back a little bit, and you'll probably win a lot of these.
Doesn't it remind you of Tim Cup?
It's kind of what it is. Yes. Not to like that.
Drop another ball.
Yeah. It's not to that level, but it's the mentality. Yes. The mentality of wanting to do it his way all the time, rather than being like, you know what? I'll go 90% swing here and make sure I'm in the fairway and give myself a wedge and at least a look at birdie. If not, easy par, go to the next hole. I mean, you saw what happened Saturday. The closing 3 holes literally took him out of contention. And then he still made a run Sunday and then had a couple bogeys down the stretch Sunday. You take those all away, he's right there with Scotty. And that's the difference. Scotty.
The way he lost to Masters was exactly like the first 2 holes couldn't have went better for him. And then he just absolutely went full meathead.
Yep.
But
he's got to be less meathead sometimes.
100%. He plays golf like I play golf. Like, it's a curved par 4 over a tree. I'm supposed to hit an iron. Nah, driver's coming out. I'm going to hit a hook around this corner here, hit the hero shot.
Does it too much.
He's a lot better than I am, obviously.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. Man, there's a par 4 at Mainland, right? And it's a hooked par 4. It's drivable. It's like 270 to the green.
Listen, if you're gonna be a golfer, stop saying hooked. It's a dog leg. Use the right terminology.
Well, I say hook and slice. The dog leg left. Par 4.
That's fine. If you're gonna be PGA Gene, you got to use the right terminology.
So you're supposed to hit the ball 200 straight, and then have a 64-yard chip to where the green is, to the dog leg left. Probably 65, 70. Just chip it right on, right? Nope, not me. Not asshole Gene. Nope. Driver's coming out. I'm going to hit it over the trees. I hit it over the trees. I land a par 4 onto the green. Incredible. Best shot probably had in my life. 3 putted for par, which was awful. But the worst part is every time I go there now, I'm like, I want to do that again, and it ends up in the trees. Mistake, Bryson.
Look who it is. Yeah.
One of us. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's a tough green to land. But let's move on to Major League Baseball. I'll say this. Got to keep my mouth shut. Yeah, listen, when you started the season, the Philadelphia Phillies being first place in the National League was not on everyone's bingo card, but you could predict that. Like right then, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Mets, the Braves, you could predict that, right? I started the season. I didn't have the Detroit Tigers as the best team in baseball through 50 games. I did not. Detroit Tigers 33-17. Best team in baseball record-wise. Shally, what the hell is going on in Detroit?
Well, I didn't have them being the best team in baseball. They were my pick to win that division, though.
You did pick them.
They listen. I really like their pitching. You start with Scooble up top. They got Jack Flaherty back after having him last year and trading him to the Dodgers for a couple people, and then he came back in free agency. Casey Mize was a full year removed from Tommy John, who was one of the top prospects in baseball 5 years ago. And then you've the young, the young flamethrower at the back of the rotation, and Joby, who I love a lot. I think is going to be a fantastic number one type guy in a couple years. And they've been building. They've drafted really well. They've got a couple big kids that can hit that have finally made to the major leagues. And I thought that division was gettable. I wasn't sold on Minnesota. I love Bobby Witt Jr., obviously, but I think Kansas City just too many holes. And I thought it was going to be between them and Cleveland. Cleveland's just the steady Eddie team in that division. And I'll take Detroit's pitching, over Cleveland's. That's what it boils down to. So they're playing good baseball, and they're starting to get a little publicity now, obviously. But we've seen it before, man. If you have that good of a pitching staff, you're going to have games where you win that you shouldn't when pitchers have bad games, but then you're going to have a lot of games you win where you don't have a lot of pressure on your lineup. I mean, Scoobles can go out there and throw a shutout any given freaking night. Kid's probably the best pitcher in baseball. They've dealt with a lot of crappy seasons the last 10 years and they drafted well and now they're here. So, like I said, they play very simple baseball. They go out, they let the pitchers do their thing, and they score 4 or 5 runs, and they win a bunch of games. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they hold up over the summer, obviously, and always have to avoid the injury bug because that's they're not terribly deep. So I mean, if they lose a bunch of position players or something, that will hurt them. But I think they're going to win the division, and I think again, you line them up in a 5-game or 7-game playoff series. They have the pitching to stay in with anybody or beat anybody. So they could very, very, very well likely be a Cinderella type team this year.
You talk about the Tigers, but I mean, of course, I didn't have them performing as well as they have been so far this year as well there. But I want to say it was maybe over the weekend that the AL Central was a division that had 4 teams in playoff spots.
Yep.
So to me, obviously it makes what the Tigers doing, like what they're doing is special. But I also think that this is going to be a fight, all year. Detroit has obviously separated themselves, slightly. And of course it is still early. We only got the first third of the season done. But this is a division that is going to be tougher than, even what I thought it might be. Like I thought you were going to have your 2, probably 3 teams at the top there with, Detroit, Kansas City, and Cleveland. But, all teams really outside of the bottom feeder are taking care of business in that division there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how things play out, once we do hit that summer stretch there, see what's really going on. But Tigers have definitely shocked me, and I'm hoping that they come back down to earth. But again, the way that pitching staff in general has been, and we know what they have at the top end, it's going to make for a very interesting divisional run here.
You talk about the top end, and they are a division that have 4 teams above 500. We predicted that with the AL West, with Arizona, San Francisco, San Diego, and the Dodgers. But in the AL Central, to have the Guardians, the Royals, the Twins, and the Tigers all above 500. I got to talk about the bottom feeder teams. The first one I want to talk about is the Baltimore Orioles. They are 16-32. Someone's got to get fired. Someone's got to get fired. You let your best pitching prospect walk out the door. No one's hitting on that team. They are looking awful. 16-32. You got a team with Gunnar Henderson, Cedric Mullins, Adley Rutschman, Jackson Holliday. You got all these guys. I just don't understand how they could be 16-32. Is their season over, Bill?
It's early enough that it's not over, but it's got to get drastically better quick. Because again, if you wait too long, You don't want to have to be beating the Yankees down the stretch. I think Toronto's been a little bit better than I think people thought they were going to be. And Boston could still give you fits. So, I will say this. The pitching is obviously an issue, don't get me wrong. But you hit on the other thing. They're not losing games 7-6. They're losing games 7-2, 7-1, 6-0. Those young kids aren't hitting. I think they've had a long period where a lot of people have been blowing a lot of sunshine up their ass and telling them, they're the next best thing since sliced bread and all that good stuff. And they are, don't get me wrong. But I think they've all let it get to their head a little bit.
And they're the worst team run differential in the American League. Like the White Sox are the worst record-wise by like one game or a game and a half. But run differential, they're a -85.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not like you could point to the starting pitching and say it's been bad, and you're 100% right. But like I said, it's like to your point, it's not like the run differential is 20 because they're losing every game 7-6. Like they're not hitting. None of those guys are performing. They all collectively need to get their heads out of their asses and they got to get going.
To me, it reminds me a lot of what we saw in San Diego a couple years ago. Like I remember before Tatis got suspended, we were talking about how much money San Diego had spent, bringing in Machado and obviously with Bogarts and, just how deep that team was. And they just weren't playing well as a unit. Tatis gets suspended. They start to go on a run. And then obviously, obviously we see where they're at now. It's crazy to say growing pains with this team and you can't just chalk it up to that. Like both of you guys have said, I agree. Somebody's got to go there, but this is so weird to see from a team that was, last year contending to be the best team in the AL. So I know you lost Corbin, and losing Corbin is a big time piece. Like don't get me wrong there, but something definitely has to change there. But I can't necessarily say that their season is over because I just think their roster is too good that they could just flip a switch and go on a 8-9 game win streak or win 11 out of 13 games or something like that and be right back in it. And the other part of it is that Baltimore has shown you that they're, at least this new regime here, is willing to go out and acquire talent. So if there's a pitcher out there on the market that they can go get and try and make a run, or move and get like a vet bat in the lineup to try and make a run, things like that. Like I wouldn't be surprised for Baltimore to do that because the talent is there. They got to figure it out.
I'll tell you, and I'll get back to a good team in a minute, but I just want to ask you guys a question, and I want to see how close you guys get. We talked about Baltimore's run differential at -85. Athletics -64. Miami Marlins -79. Baltimore's the second worst in all of baseball at a -85. Anyone want to take a guess what Colorado's run differential is through 48 games of regular season baseball?
110.
I'll say -114.
Yeah. I would think that would be close too. That's not even close. You're not even within 30 runs. They are a -153 through 48 games of baseball. And they won 8 of them. What?
It's a shame. That's another franchise that has obviously had, really good players come through and had success and had playoff teams and stuff like that. And I have a friend that's out there for work right now, and they walked up the other day and they walked in the stadium for $5 and sat where they wanted to. And it's a gorgeous stadium. Stadium. No lie, $5 to get in, and they sat in the front row of the field. There's nobody there.
Colorado, I'm going to watch a baseball game for $5.
Absolutely, the stadium is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And again, you're talking about Denver, which is a great sports town. So
that would be my first date for like so many people. I'd be like,
baseball game,
a Rockies game.
A Rockies game. Be nice and quiet. You can talk.
She'd look at you like, "What? Do you hate me?" Like,
Gee,
no,
I
Better way to waste my time.
I have season tickets in the front row.
Spent $14.
Yeah.
You remember when we had that contest where we gave away tickets and the kid chose to go to the Pirates-Orioles game when both teams were terrible? You remember that?
Yeah.
We're talking about for $100, you could probably play in the game.
Yeah.
Well, is it the Rockies? They're doing open tryouts.
Oh God, they should. It's terrible.
It's the crazy thing is I would think there are 2 or 3 decent players on the team that probably get traded this year with McMahon and a couple other guys. It's probably going to get worse.
They got to break the record this year. We got to go. We got to do it.
It might.
Worst team of all time. Break it. The last good team I want to talk about. You know what? This is what I want to get into. It's not a good team, bad thing. I want you guys, and if you guys want to do this, you guys do what you want. But I want to do this, so I'm going to give you guys the option to do too. What is a middle-of-the-road team that you think can make waves in the American League and a middle-of-the-road team that you think can make waves in the National League? I have 2. If you like, I'll start.
Are we talking like
I think these 2 teams could play each other in the World Series. It would be rare, but I think they could at least make it to the NL and ALDS. And they're 500, like around 500 or lower. And I'm going with the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are 26 and 23. But that's not the team I want to talk about. That's not who I want to talk about. In the American League, if you got a couple dollars to rub together, I want you to go throw a bet on the Texas Rangers to win the division. Maybe to win the pennant. I love where the Texas Rangers are at right now. Jacob deGrom looks like he's back. Got a 2.29 ERA, below 1 whip. He's got 53 strikeouts and 9 starts. He looks like he's back. And guess what? He's the 3rd best pitcher on the team right now. And they have a lineup of guys that aren't really hitting to their potential now. But, man, Marcus Semion's not going to bat 175 all year. It's just not. Adolis Garcia is not going to bat 222 all year. You got Wyatt Langford. You got a lot of guys on that team that can hit the baseball. And Corey Seager has been awful. Been hurt. I think that your pick should be Texas versus Arizona as your long shots. Anybody else have a different?
Texas is a good one. I mean, I had DeGrom as my comeback player of the year. Again, to your point with them, I mean, Seattle's playing well. I mean, they're relying on that pitching staff, but I think once those guys come to life and start hitting, you're going to start seeing the Rangers win, 7 out of every 10 games type thing. So,
yeah.
That'll be interesting. Arizona's an interesting one. That division's brutal, minus Colorado, obviously. San Francisco is playing really well above their heads, and Dodgers and the Padres really can't separate. So it's going to be that is going to be a very interesting division to come watch down to the end. I think St. Louis intrigues me a little bit. They're hanging in. They're getting. I think their pitching probably a little bit above their heads right now. But Sonny Gray's looked good. And I think they have a nice mix of veterans and blend with rookies and younger guys there. I think they can stay in the Central race. I picked Chicago, but I think St. Louis can at least keep contact. American League wise, I'm not going to use Texas. I mean, Boston's an interesting one. Boston's an interesting one to me because they have enough power in the lineup and enough pop, and I feel like their top line, with Crochet and Bueller now back, as long as he's healthy. That was
again the other night, by the way.
It was.
That umpires should be suspended. But again, in a best of 3, I don't know if I'd want to see Boston. You're gonna get those 2 guys up top. So I mean, anything could happen there. So those would be two for me right now.
So I actually agree with you with the Boston sentiment. That's who I was going to go with for the AL side of things, because I think as a whole, outside of Crochet, I mean, their pitching staff hasn't been great. We talk about Walker being back and being healthy. I think that can go a long way for them down the line in the playoffs. Once they make it there. But on the NL side of things, as much as you guys probably don't want to hear it, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Braves. The fact that they are 500 team right now after the abysmal start they got out to, and the fact that Strider just went on the IL there, and they still don't have Cunha back yet. Like that team, that's a team that can add additional pieces down the line and be even better than where they're at right now. So I think they're doing exactly what they need to do. Just staying afloat, just keeping your name, keeping your head above water. And, you ultimately want to be healthy come July, come, August, as you're getting into the postseason time. Give your guys enough time to get their arms right and, warm up the bats, things like that. So then once the playoffs get there, you can beat a lot of teams with just, pure talent alone there. So for the NL, for me, it'd be Atlanta. And I agree with you, Bill, on the AL side with Boston.
So you guys have like 8 days left. And I think you might actually get it because we discussed the Acuna thing earlier in the season. I said he's not coming back till June. And you guys shut me down and said he'd be back in May. And I think he's in his rehab starts now. I think you might get him back for like this weekend or like early next week. So I think I'm going to miss out on that by like a week. But you're right. Strider just got off the IL and Acuna Jr.'s in rehab starts in AA or AAA ball or single A ball.
Yeah,
so
I saw that. They were starting
the reinforcements are coming for Atlanta. Anything else baseball you want to bring up, Bill?
No, I mean, it's just becoming. Listen, I really thought with the success of the instant challenge with the strike zone, I really thought the umpires would really try to kind of stay on top of their game this year and really try to buckle down and not have games where they're missing 10% of strike calls and stuff like that. And it's debatably gotten worse. So, and to do that, knowing that system is there and it works and people are pushing for it behind the scenes. I just think we have to go to. I mean, we talked about the Walker Buehler thing. You can't miss that pitch. It wasn't a borderline pitch. It was above the guy's knee. It was over the heart of the plate. You called it a ball. It's not a pitch you can miss, and it's still an epidemic across the league. Just really obvious calls being missed, and especially behind the plate with balls and strikes. You can't you can't keep telling these players that they can't argue balls and strikes when you're missing them that consistently and by that much. These guys are professionals. They know what they're doing. And again, they're not right all the time either. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's guys that argue, batter could sit there and take a strike where we all see it as a strike and he thinks it's a ball. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more about the ones that are blatantly missing, that are putting guys in holes and stuff like that. And it's not something that's gotten better. So I think you're going to see the robo umps next year, and I think you should. I think it's not going to slow the game down. It's instantaneous, and I think the umps need to start being held accountable, especially if they're going to go to robos next year. If they're going to go to robo umps and you get a certain amount of calls that are overturned, I think umpires should get suspended.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's been hilarious. So that's why I started laughing when you were getting into it.
Definitely has been in the video, Walker. I mean, it's just kind of for him in that situation, like it sucks because for a fact that you're just right. Like there's nothing else you can do about it. Say, hey, it was right down the effing middle. Like there's nothing else I can say here. And you ultimately get tossed, and you were right. So absolutely sucks there. And I think with that happening, Because I don't think it's necessarily worse, but I definitely think I've seen some crazy misses for sure. And then it gets challenged and and it ultimately gets overturned there. But I think the part of the problem though is that you get these challenges on these calls that are like very questionable or it's right on the outside, and then everyone's like, gun shy afterwards, or they don't really have the ability to go after the ones that are right down the middle, like later on in the game. So I think it's a good premise to have, the challenge for the calls there, but I also think it really gives these umpires kind of this power advantage after you challenge one, get it wrong, and they're like, all right, well, doesn't really matter now what I missed because nothing's gonna outrule me.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting economy to see how many you're allowed to get, and are they unlimited if you keep getting them right? Or it's that the final language of the rule and the challenges will be interesting to see how it is, when they actually fully implement it into a game.
Let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me. I have kind of been waiting for this one, so.
Well, I hope I'm not taking anybody's. But mine this week, I'm going with New York Knicks fans. New York Knicks fans have, I get it. This is their first appearance in the Eastern Conference Finals since 2000. It should be a glorious time. But if I was in a coma and I just woke up, and I just turned on the TV and I saw the parades and I saw the celebrations and I saw the celebrities at these games and how they're talking about what happened, I would have thought the New York Knicks were world champions. And I would have thought that they beat the Celtics and that gave them a world championship. But that wasn't the case. It reminded me so much of when the Minnesota Timberwolves, they won their play-in game and made it back to the playoffs, and you saw Patrick Beverley on the scores table and he took his jersey off and they're waving in the air and players are on the court crying and all this stuff there. I get it, New York. It's been a while, but act like you've been there before. There is still work to be done. If you lose this series against the Pacers, all that winning that you did in the first two rounds really don't matter. So for me, I'm fine with you celebrating. You should celebrate. Like, you should be happy your team is having success and, winning in the playoffs and ultimately advancing. But acting like this team won a world championship when they literally all they did was clinch a berth to the Eastern Conference Finals, not even to the finals, to the Eastern Conference Finals. This week for me, New York Knicks fans, media, everybody just blowing that whole winning series out of proportion.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh.
I'm going back to the golf. I'm going to go with Wyndham Clark this week. Listen, playing high pressure, high profile golf is a stressful thing. I promise you. I've never done anything close to it. The amount of pressure those guys are under and the stress to hit every shot perfect, stroke after stroke after stroke is not easy to do. But that being said, all these major events have a shit ton of volunteers that work to make the events go smoothly and move people around and quite frankly, a lot of them help do things for players. Wyndham Clark hit a bad tee shot. I want to say it was off 13 or 14. Listen, we've all been there before where you want to throw your club. Some of us probably have more often than we would like to admit. But if you've ever watched, a professional golf event on TV, there's always the guy that has his things in his hands and lets the people in the fairway know which direction the ball's going so they can get ready and try to spot it. Because again, it helps the players and it makes it easier for them to track their balls. When you're hitting at 330, it's not the easiest thing to do. This guy's standing directly behind Wyndham Clark. Wyndham Clark hits a bad tee shot, doesn't like it, turns around, throws his driver full force, ends up going through a wooden billboard that's behind him, about 4 feet from the guy that's volunteering there. The guy looked like he was going to shit himself. If you watch it, if you could actually find the clip with the sound, it's a really loud bang. And like I said, the head of his club actually punches a piece of the wood all the way through. Can't do it, bud. That guy's literally there He's probably 65, 70 years old. He's volunteering. He's just out there trying to be on the course, being part of it. You're a professional. You got to be better. If you want to throw your club, you got to do it the right way and throw it forward so you know where it's going, so it doesn't hit anybody. You'll still get on ESPN. It won't matter, and you won't be in. He won't be in danger of hitting anybody. So for this week, for Wyndham Clark being a buffoon, he gets my. You got to be kidding me.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
All right. That was a great one. Jory said if I'd won, would be basketball fans born after 2007. SGA is not a top 15 player of all time. Does he have the potential? Yes. But
He's top 15 of all time.
Someone posted if he wins 2 more series. It was wrong. That's the point. Mine this week goes back to the NFL owners meetings. And I'm going to have fun with this one for a little while. I got to give Jerry Jones credit. I hate doing that. Jerry Jones had a comment afterwards. Any play that's out of the ordinary gets extra scrutiny because of the competition committee. That's the fun part of having these meetings. And here we are. The world champion is the main focus of the tush push. And here we are debating it. Am I really against the tush push? Or I just not want Philadelphia to have an edge. I kind of flip-flop on the rule. I love that he said that. Now, where my "you got to be kidding me" comes from is Niners owner Ned York, who interrupted Jeffrey Lurie, saying, "How much more shit do you need to say?" As Jeffrey Lurie was giving a passionate speech of why the tush push didn't need to be banned. But apparently, 2 owners flip-flopped on the tush push. You're not going to see this out there completely, but it's been rumored to say that Pittsburgh was one of those teams that almost flip-flopped after Jason Kelce and alluded to Jason Kelce changing the minds of 2 owners in the room. They had the 24 votes to vote it out, and Jason Kelce's speech changed 2 owners' minds. Jason Kelce said, and I quote, "If I could run 60 tush pushes a game, I would unretire. It's not that play that made me retire." And there was an owner, and a lot of people are saying it's Terry Pagula, the owner of the Buffalo Bills, who said it was the reason that Jason Kelce retired early. That's why Jason went to the committee. Where my "you got to be kidding me" comes from is Troy Vincent, ex-Philadelphia Eagle Troy Vincent. Jeffrey Lurie stated it's a win-win during his speech. It would be like a wet dream for a teenage boy to create a play that was so good that it resulted in the NFL banning it. Lurie's analogy was reportedly not appreciated by Troy Vincent, the NFL's executive vice president. Vincent, a former NFL defensive back who spent 8 years with the Philadelphia Eagles, chastised Lurie for his analogy and the fact that it was said in the presence of a woman. Troy, I don't know what to tell you, brother. I just need you to look around at your league. There has been multiple violations that have been swept under the rug of domestic abuse. Multiple domestic abuse people that committed domestic violence put back in the league. You're right. The analogy of him saying it'd be like a wet dream for a teenage boy was just too much for that woman to handle. Come on, Troy. You wanted to play banned. It didn't get banned. You got sour grapes. Relax. For this week, Troy Vincent.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Troy Vincent.
As somebody that doesn't have a dog in this fight, that is a little weird analogy, not gonna lie. Not saying that what else the NFL allows is okay, but that is a little bit of a weird analogy to bring up in the meeting.
I just don't. It is a weird analogy. I just don't know if Troy Vincent's going to stand on I cannot believe he said that in front of a woman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that.
The woman in question, Amy Adams Strunk, the owner of the Tennessee Titans. Any final comments, gentlemen?
Well, we
got to finish
have
trivia.
a trivia question.
Oh, I forgot about it. See,
to get here.
you're ready.
I am. Because I am going to college basketball here for you
We're
guys.
just gonna go quick. Is it like a number one
It is
answer only?
you both have guesses here, and I'm going to open the floor. I don't know if you want to flip a coin. I don't know what we're doing here to pick who goes first. However you guys deem fair.
Okay.
But the question is, we're going to go to college basketball. I want in the spirit of the Philly theme here, the highest drafted Villanova Wildcat
Okay.
to the NBA.
Want to go? How do you want to do this, Chow? I think I know who it is. Can I say it? And then if I get it wrong, you get the.
Well, it's not going to be it's not a guy, because if you get like the fifth highest guy and
I think I have the
gets
highest.
the fourth highest guy, then
I think I have the high.
I think I know it is too. So I mean, I don't know how we do this.
I
how
think
you guys want to do it. You want to
flip a coin.
all right.
You want heads or tails, Chow?
I'll take heads.
Okay.
You want heads? All right.
Got heads.
Hey, trying to do it on the phone here. I don't have a coin. I'm trying to be tech guy. It's not.
Okay. Write a number in your calculator, 1 to 10. Whoever's closest. I don't care.
All right, that's cool. All right, 1 to 10.
All right, Chow. Pick whatever number you want.
I'll go with 6.
Oh, it's not rocket science.
Well, the
6.
funny thing is he went with 6 because that's exactly the position in which this player got drafted in. So I'll go 4.
Number 6.
Yep, and that's the position in which this player got drafted in. He's going to name, and that player is.
I'm probably not right, but the only one that sticks out of my head that I think will even go high enough to do. I'll go with Kyle Lowry.
Nope. Number 6.
Kyle
drafted.
Lowry got drafted 24th.
Nope.
The number 6 pick by the Minnesota Timberwolves, Mr. Randy Foye.
Randy Foye got drafted 7th, but 7th is much higher than Kyle Lowry.
Is he the highest?
He's not the highest. The highest was 1950 guy Paul Arizin got drafted 3rd, but of modern guys, Randy Foye is the highest. Him and Tim Thomas.
I thought he was 6th. Drafted by Minnesota, right? Timberwolves?
Yep.
I remember it. Oh, dude, I was a huge Randy Foye guy.
All right.
I
Well,
told Siri to flip a coin. She said tails. I would have won. I still won. Okay. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Nah.
I got
love that
nothing this
question, by
week.
the way.
Got nothing.
Sean, anything?
No, I'm good.
I'm great. I'm golden. I'm looking forward to another Memorial Day one-pitch victory. I'm going for number 7 Sunday. You'll find out next week if I get it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL Genius Gene Walzak. That's Kent State's own, Cleveland's own College Cottrell, Uncle Shally, Scholastic Shally, Mr. William Shawcross. And we are signing out.